So the agreement will have his bail converting to from cash.
Can you just speak up just a little bit so we can hear?
So his bail will go from the straight cash to a personal recognizance bail with various conditions, including supervision by the Community Corrections Program. The original high cash bail was set on the belief that he could be imminently deployed as a National Air Guardsman. Those deployment orders have been canceled because he's lived in the county for a significant period of time. We no longer believe that he's a flight risk and could be adequately supervised. He'll have other conditions of bail, of course, such as no weapons. His residence will have to be confirmed to be a safe, weapons-free residence before he's released to it. But an agreement has been reached, and now the next matter will be a preliminary hearing to determine what should happen next with the case.
Okay, so it's cash bail still?
Right now it's cash bail, but that will be converted to personal recognizance as soon as all of his conditions are met through the Community Corrections Program to ensure that he'll be safe in the community and not a flight risk, which are the two parts of the bail statute.
Okay, and he's still going to be housed over at the jail where he worked?
The last word I got is that he will be housed temporarily at the Stratford County House of Corrections. If that temporary housing starts to become days, then it is possible he will be moved to another facility.
Has he kept away from everybody else?
He is housed in a booking cell so that he has no direct contact with other inmates or staff at this point.
Well, what about his mental health? That's almost like solitary confinement in a sense?
It's in a single cell with observation, but in this case it's more for safety than for anything particular to his mental condition.
And what's the concern for safety?
The concern for safety would be his, up till yesterday, having been employed at the House of Corrections, and therefore inmates who may have issues with him from their past experiences.
What unit did he work in?
He had access to all parts of the jail, but was specifically in the H and J units, where we believe part of this case originates from.
What do the H and J units mean, or is that just how they're referred to?
Simply just different housing segregation or segmented units.
And what would be the characterization of the people that are in those units, or don't we know? Are they just general?
Standard general population prisoners, in other words, not segmented out for special programming.
Okay, and you said that that's where you believe the original case started. How did the investigation begin?
I don't want to comment too much on that. However, it's been known for some period of time that drugs, unfortunately, are getting into our House of Corrections. Stratford County, through both the Sheriff's Department and the House of Corrections staff, have been working for several months to try to determine how those drugs could be entering and endangering the lives of the inmate population. And this is one of the first results of that ongoing investigation by those joint agencies in cooperation, not only with the County Attorney's Office, but also with the Dover Police.
Might there be other arrests?
There could be. It's an ongoing investigation. We want to make sure that the House of Corrections is as safe as possible. We ask our judges each and every day to sometimes take people out of the general community and put them in the jail for their own safety, and so we certainly can't have drugs getting into that facility.
Now, of course, this is an issue throughout the state. I mean, has this been an ongoing issue for a long time over at the county jail?
I don't know for how long, but certainly any institution where there are people who have addiction issues, they're going to find ways to get substances into the jail or make their own substances. I've been here for 18 years, and we've certainly been dealing with it for the period of time that I've been here. It's in a heightened phase because of people's acute need for opiates. But we are very aggressive here in Stratford County. We run an in-jail treatment program in the House of Corrections, and we certainly can't have people being housed in our House of Corrections being told you're going to get treatment and at the same time have them subjected to the possibility of getting street drugs while incarcerated. It's intolerable to us as county leaders, and we have been working for months to try to rectify that situation.
Now, in that in-house jail treatment, what's done? I mean, are these people given some kind of drug to help them get off the opiates? Is there, counseling and treatment? Maybe we could explain that for the population out there that's wondering.
The in-jail program that Stratford County runs, which is similar to what some of the other counties run, is called the Transitional Housing Unit. It is a segmented unit where the men and women are housed in a barracks type situation. They are immersed in treatment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are not with the other inmates, and so they can get constant treatment and reflect on the treatment that they're getting and try to learn healthier methods of living once they get outside the walls. It's a 90-day program. It's quite rigorous, and we're very proud of it. We want to make sure we can maintain the integrity of that program.
Tom, can you recount what happened yesterday? You articulate, was he arriving for work? What was his shift? What happened when he got there?
This particular defendant was taken into custody at the time that he arrived for his scheduled shift.
What was that shift?
I believe he was arriving at a 2 p.m. shift to work his general duties as a corrections officer.
Can you tell us what happened when he got there?
When he got there, he was intercepted by sheriff's personnel as well as House of Corrections personnel. Captain Christopher Brackett had been working closely with the sheriff's department and was questioned, and that's how this case quickly unfolded at that time. And the substances are alleged to have been on his person at the time, which led to the charges that have been brought to Superior Court now, and I will be prosecuting.
Now, what are the possible penalties for this crime?
There are 3 charges that are currently pending. 2 are possession with intent to deliver controlled drugs. 1 is for heroin or fentanyl. We're not quite sure what it is yet. We will have it tested. And the other is for cocaine. There's also a separate crime for bringing the articles into the House of Corrections without the knowledge of the superintendent. And that's called delivery of articles prohibited. So there are 3 crimes, although all stemming from the fact that he arrived to work with the substances.
And he was still in his street clothes at the time that he was arrested, or had he already changed up?
I can't confirm that I was off-site at the time.
How much was located on his persons?
I don't want to get into specifics, but however, it was, we're not talking about trace amounts. We are talking about a substantial quantity, which we will have tested at the state lab to confirm both its weight and its properties.
Do you have an approximate value of the drugs that he had on him?
My best guess for the eyeball glance that we had would be in the thousands of dollars, between $2,000 and $5,000.
A couple fingers?
More than that, although I can't comment specifically at this time. It would be premature for me to do that.
Is it your sense that would this represent the bulk of the issue, if it proves to be true, the bulk of the way that the drugs are getting in there?
We've looked at several different methods of how these kinds of things can be delivered into the population. Certainly we've looked at men and women who are released on work release, whether they can be bringing things back in. Corrections officer have also been another area where we've looked at, but we are leaving no stone unturned in regards to how the House of Corrections can become susceptible to these kinds of substances entering. We will continue to investigate this. It is not an investigation that is closed today or will be closed anytime soon. We're very serious about keeping this the safest correctional institution in New Hampshire.
Now, do people, that have relatives there, whether from the state, I know they have a lot of federal inmates and ICE detainees as well, should they be concerned at all?
There's not an acute concern. Inmates who want to stay away from these substances can certainly stay away from them. If you have loved ones who are in the facility, you should continue to urge them to try to stay drug-free. There are certainly plenty of substance abuse classes that are ongoing in the House of Corrections. If someone makes good choices for themselves and takes responsibility for their actions, they can stay away from these things. Our job is to try to make sure that they don't get introduced in the first place, and we'll continue to try to do that.
Can you explain again, Tom, because we weren't rolling yet, about the bail and the active duty piece? What was that?
So the original high cash bail, which was appropriate at the time it was set, was based on the belief that this particular defendant could be eminently deployed as an Air National Guardsman. We've since learned from his commanding officers that deployment has been canceled and that his weapons clearance has been taken away from him. So we no longer have a specific flight risk. Because he's lived in the community for an extended period of time, we do believe that he can be adequately supervised by our community supervision program with the right restrictions placed on him.
If that's the case, why the cash bail remain after that point where?
Well, he's got to qualify first. Is that
Right,
why?
so it'll remain cash until he qualifies.
But why not reduce that cash bail until he qualifies?
Well, the cash bail is meant to be as much of a deterrent to him as possible so that he obeys the community corrections program. So therefore, if there's any sort of infraction, bail would revert back to that high cash level. We would pull him back in and then deal with any subsequent bail revocation or violations.